My name is Cecilia Van Doncelar of the Mary Isham Keith chapter of the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution. Today's date is November 17th, 2020, and this interview is being conducted in Fort Worth, Texas, for the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress. We are interviewing Specialist Phillip Daenzer, who served in the U.S. Army. Specialist Daenzer, would you please introduce yourself further?
I'm Phillip Daenzer. I was born September the 10th, 1948 in Fort Worth, Texas. My wife's name is Valerie Truly Daenzer. We've been married for 41 years, and we were not married when I served in the military. My wife was born April the 17th, 1954 in Fort Worth, Texas. I have a daughter from previous marriage named Amber Allison Daenzer. She also lives in Fort Worth, Texas, and was born March the 18th, 1976. My father's name was Orville Leonard Daenzer. He served in the United States Air Force, retired captain. He was born in 1921 and in Kansas. My mother's name is Dorothy Rowland Daenzer. She was born in Fort Worth, Texas, September the 5th, 1922. I have half brothers and half sisters, but no full brothers and sisters. Family members, I have an uncle that I was very proud of. He's a retired colonel from the Army. He was also a Pearl Harbor survivor. After they hit Pearl Harbor, he was headed west and was commissioned in Fiji. I have another cousin, his son, my cousin Greg Kemp, attended West Point, graduated West Point. He retired as a colonel from the Army. My other cousin, Tom Lennox, he was a lieutenant colonel. He retired lieutenant colonel. And my cousin and my uncle were in a book published about father and son serving in combat areas. My uncle mentioned in the book that his biggest regret in life was that his only son, his only nephew, and his only son-in-law were in Vietnam at the same time. I was drafted on August 28th, 1969. At that time, I had to make a decision in my life. I was in college on academic probation, not attending classes, and just needed to learn how to grow up. In 1969, there was not a lottery. There was a pure draft. So I knew if I laid out of school, what my destiny would be. So I laid out, and as you can tell, in August, I was drafted, so that wasn't long after the semester started. At that time, I was sent to Fort Bliss, Texas, for my basic training. I remember laying there the first day saying, my gosh, 2 years is a long time from now. But I made it. After basic, I was sent to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for my AIT. I was Corps of Engineers, and I was training to be a Euclid scraper operator. Upon completing my AIT, I was sent to Vietnam. Arriving in Vietnam, the first thing they did was send us to a tent and show us a video of why we were there. A lot of people my age in 60s didn't really understand what Vietnam was all about. So we got about a 5-minute briefing on why we were there. Then they put us on a truck to send us to our units. I was headed north, and I said, I hope this thing doesn't go too far north. But we got to Lai Kay, which ended up being the rear or the battalion headquarters of where the 554th Engineers were, which I was a member of the 554th Engineers and B Company. We were building QL-13, which was a highway that was actually on Thunder Road. Thunder Road was not a very safe place. I've read a lot about it prior to when I got there, and it was pretty rough. Also, we were trying to make a supply route because it was not travelable by a wheeled vehicle. So we were building from Lyke to Amlock. Previously, it had already built up to Lyke, and we were going forward. By the time I got there, there was fire sport bases on Thunder Road called Thunder 1, Thunder 2, Thunder 3, and what I understand, it used to be called Thunder 4, but when I got there, they called it Doomsday. So, excuse me, when I got there, they already progressed up to Thunder 3. So I was at Thunder 3 and didn't really like operating the wheeled tractor, so eventually I became a 10-ton tractor trailer operator, hauling the equipment out and bringing it back in. While at Thunder 3, gained a lot of friends, but while we were there one night, we started getting rounds incoming. Actually, I thought it would be the last night I survived, or I didn't survive. But we were under the bunks, we were in a bunker. If you got out, you couldn't tell where you were because it was dark. That night, our company commander was killed. And we got a new company commander. Not too long after that, we had a memorial for Captain Fennell, and our group commander came in, 2-star General Dillard, and his helicopter for the memorial. When he left that day, he went north to look at our progress on QL-13 and was shot down and killed with his helicopter, his helicopter pilot, and his aide. After we finished QL-13, we moved north to work on Highway 1 in Bowlock. Bowlock was in the Central Highlands, T-Fields, and primary thing we had issues with there was snipers on the road, and so we'd have to send out each morning, we'd have to send out rat patrol. We were fortunate that we didn't really lose anybody there, and when Red Cross called me to come home. I'd extended in Vietnam to get an early out when I came back. If you came back and had less than 150 days, then you would be discharged from the service. My grandfather was terminal, so the Red Cross called for me to come home. I did so, and upon doing, they would not let me return because I didn't have enough days left to justify the government sending me back. So at that point, I went to Fort Meade, Maryland, and finished my service commitment there. I was discharged honorably in June of 1971, and I'm a proud American and proud to have served my country. That's I don't.
Let's turn this off for just a moment,
Okay.
and we'll talk about that. We are continuing our interview with Specialist Daenzer. So if you will, go ahead and give us some more of your story. Thank you.
Go back to basic training. It was certainly new for me to learn how to grow up. That was my target in allowing myself to be drafted. And I did have a lot of fun experiences with my friends. We actually went to Juarez one time, and we're not supposed to do that, but we did do that with some of my friends. I had a few friends that I met there. All of them were from Fort Worth, and I continued to talk to them when we got home, and haven't talked to them in years, but we did have fun getting together when we got home. We did have one experience on a gentleman that didn't really want to be in the Army. He was in the parade field. We were doing our calisthenics, and he decided to quit, just sit there and relax. And the drill sergeant came over and said, "Soldier, you need to do your calisthenics." And he said, "No, I'm kind of tired and I don't think I want to do that anymore." And he said, "No, I'm telling you, you get up and do your calisthenics." And he said, "No, drill sergeant, I'm not going to do that." So he said, "Hold on a minute." So he went over and got a lieutenant, the drill sergeant did, and came back and he told the lieutenant that this soldier didn't want to do what he was telling him to do. So the lieutenant said, "Soldier, you need to get up and do your calisthenics." He said, "No, I'm kind of tired." And he said, "Okay, let me tell you, it's a direct order that you get up and do your calisthenics." He said, "No, I'm not going to do that." So he said, okay. They took him back, gave him a separate room in the barracks from anybody else, and he thought he was going to get out unable to adjust to military life. So this went on, and actually it was our graduation day, and he went to his court-martial. And they came back and said he got 6 months in the brig, he had to make up his time and start all over. So he was not successful in his mission to be discharged from the military. In fact, it became a longer duty for him. When we got to AIT, that was all new, driving a big piece of equipment like the Euclid scraper. It weighs 167,000 tons fully loaded. And it doesn't go very fast, and I was used to going fast in high school and college. But I learned how to operate it. I was a good operator. And I met friends there in AIT that some of them lived there and the surrounding area, and Fort Leonard Wood, and Missouri is backwoods. So some of them would come in and bring their homemade whiskey, and I didn't have any, but I understand it would take off, it would work as good as paint thinner and take off the paint off the walls if you wanted. A lot of people there, because it was winter, were getting these upper respiratory infections, of which I was one that got it, because at that time of year, it would get wind chill factor down to 40 below zero. I know after I was told I was going to Vietnam, they send you through what's called RVN training. And it's kind of hard to go through RVN training when it's registered at 40 below zero and you're getting ready to go to somewhere where it's pretty hot and pretty humid. And so they would take us out to where we were going to do something and basically say, here's what we would do, but we can't do it. And so they would put some C4 under a helmet or something and pop it and let it jump up in the air and say that's what we were supposed to do, is go out and experience some of that C4, but we didn't do that. So when I got to Vietnam, I really wasn't aware of anything that was going to go on there, and that's one of the reasons they put us in that tent and went through that video for us on what Vietnam was all about. One thing when we got to Lac Hay, the Big Red One was there was a hospital there, and as I got there, they were moving out. And I said, man, y'all need to stay. I need y'all protection. Anyway, one other thing they called Lac Hay Rocket Alley. It was when the French were there, they started inhabiting it and building around it, and there was rubber trees, a rubber plantation. And the bad thing there is that we lived in hooches there. The times I'd go back from the fire support bases, I'd stay in the hooches, and I had one day in the hooches, when the rockets would come, and they called it Rocket Alley because they would hit the rubber trees and just spray the shrapnel would just spray, and these hooches were only covered up about 4 foot with sandbags, and the rest of them were just light metal. So one day there, I was actually there, but had not been in the hooch. I was up in a different area, and they came in with rockets and sprayed, and 3 of my friends were in the hooch that didn't make it, which is still always, it's hard to realize your friends you've lost that way. And that's one regrettable thing that I have about my service, was losing some good friends. I did have one friend that I still communicate with. He lives in Kentucky. We were always very good friends there. And still, we haven't seen each other, but primarily we talk about every other month on the phone, and we send texts back and forth on a regular basis and humorous emails. But he too, I'm a disabled veteran, and he is a disabled veteran. I've got PTSD and coronary artery disease, which is allowable as exposure to Agent Orange. And he has also PTSD. But anyway, he ran a water truck, and I went on the road and had to take the equipment out. Biggest issue in Thunder 3 and Thunder 4 on QL13 was landmines. We had to send a mine sweep out every morning, and also there's a laterite pit that the scrapers would go in, dig out the base for the road, and they would plant them in there too. The enemy would come in at night and plant mines in there, and so they do a sweep every morning, and of course not be lucky in finding all of them. I know a friend of mine was driving a dozer one day, and he could see it as it rolled over the front of the blade. He could see the mine, knew it was coming, but the blade was strong enough to hold it from him. Another issue was a friend of mine was driving one of the Euclid scrapers, and the wheels are 6 foot tall, they're as tall as you are, and actually it hit on the other side and blew the wheel off, which was a mega force, and fortunately it didn't affect him. So anyway, like I said, we finished there, we went up to we went up to Bowlock, and when we got there, that's one first thing we did is the camp we were in, we named it Camp Fennell after our commanding officer, which was killed at Thunder 3. I'm out now, and like I said, I do have contacts with some of my friends, but I have in the past been involved some with the VFW and their golf league and things. I haven't been with them in a while, but I've been very involved in Ridgely Country Club and beginning our Veterans Day event there 10 years ago, and since becoming involved with other chairmen, and we currently now support North Texas Warriors Golf Association and have for probably 5 years, raising money for them as well as honoring our members on the Sunday before Veterans Day. This year we raised $30,000 for the North Texas Warriors Golf Association. A great association that helps our warriors coming home with many problems. Some with alcohol, some with drugs, which create family issues and a lot of problems there. What the North Texas Warriors Golf Association has done is to bring that association into their lives to show that there's other soldiers suffering from the same thing, and the relief valve is golf. And so they have other country clubs that have worked with them to train these people soldiers and patriots how to play golf. And they have a long, I think it's 12-week program to go through in their training to learn golf and to learn how to play and to learn the rules and the fellowship of golf. Upon their completion of their 12 weeks, they receive a set of golf clubs, a bag, the whole thing, all their shoes, their apparel, and they play together regularly. And so now they have another family that they can depend on for their needs. We have one gentleman that was president of the association last year that was basically homeless. He and his wife were living in their car on drugs and alcohol. They've since come out of that, and they're thriving. They're very successful people, and they're, as I say, he was president last year of the North Texas Warriors Golf Association, and they're a very proud, happy family. Another one of the gentlemen that's been very involved in it said he was laying in his bed one morning with pills in one hand and a gun in the other, not knowing which one to use, and then he picked up a card that one of the Warriors had given him about this, and he decided to make a phone call rather than go through that. One of the other gentlemen I've come very close with was one of the first Air Force that was into Iraq, and he was setting up the field for the transports to come in, and incoming hit killed his buddy right next to him and blew his leg off at the knee down. He now is he's in the Golf Association. He's got anyway, he's got
A prosthetic?
the prosthetic, yeah. And he's got one now they gave him. Of course, these are very expensive. He's got one now that he gave him. He got that will pivot with golf, so it makes it a lot easier for him to play golf. He graduated and has his master's from Texas Christian University. He is a counselor at what used to be Carswell Air Force Base with the troops that come in there. He helps their families, helps them, family issues, anything. He's a tremendous young man, and he's overcome his issues, and he's really wonderful for the Patriots that come home and end up over there, as well as the Patriots and the North Texas Warriors Golf Association. I'm proud to be a supporter of theirs and to work with them in our club and to provide all these funds that we have provided, which will give them the resources to have all their support from the golf and their clubs and all their equipment and all their needs, and to have them out here at our club every year to play it and to be rewarded and honored by our members and our fellow friends.
Yes. Specialist Daenzer, I'm going to ask you a couple of other little things, maybe if you can add to what part of your story.
Sure.
Do you remember where you were when the war ended?
You talking about when it really ended?
It was officially over.
The conflict was,
Right.
and that's another bad thing with it.
Yeah.
That, we really weren't treated the way Americans are treating the soldiers today, which I'm proud of. I'm sorry I don't. No, I don't. I was in Fort Worth, and I was working, but I'm not exactly sure of when, the South gave up,
Well, you alluded to this. Can you tell us how you were received in the community and your family back then when you got out and came home? What was that like at that time?
It was wonderful when I got home. And coming home, it wasn't very wonderful. It was, in airports and anywhere they didn't want to talk, people didn't want to talk to you, they disrespected you. You didn't feel like a proud warrior. You felt like you maybe had done something wrong, which all I was doing and all the soldiers were doing is what their country wanted them to do. And I was proud of what I did, but you really couldn't, and of course you had to travel in uniform. So it wasn't, and with your haircut and your uniform, everybody knew who you were, and it wasn't very pleasant. But when I got home here, my family and friends were very receptive and very proud to see me and very proud of what I'd done.
How did you readjust to civilian life, and then how did you get back into a job or some position of,
I went back to college and did better. And then actually, my grandfather was pro at Glen Garden Country Club, and I grew up there playing golf and very involved and adamant golfer. And I found out there was an assistant manager's job. While I was going to college, I found out there was an assistant manager's job opening there. So I have a business degree, and so I went and applied for it and got it. And served there basically a year as assistant manager. The general manager took a position somewhere else, and so I was offered the general manager's job. And here at the same club where my grandfather was pro 25 years, I became general manager there and was very proud of that. I met a lot of people there that I have continued life with, and that was a good career. I since have changed careers, but I decided if you wanted to be with your family on holidays and you wanted to do what you wanted on holidays, that wasn't the career to have because you're working holidays. But that, yeah, I came out and I was lucky to, I still had memories and still had issues. When I married my wife, she said I would sleepwalk at night. She'd find me in other rooms the next morning, and I've since gotten through most of that. But she's my anchor.
so in general, how would you say your wartime experiences have affected your life? I know you said you felt you needed to grow up.
And that's what I learned in basic training starting off, is if somebody told you to do something, you had to do it. And you had to do that through your military career. I did get out with a Good Conduct Medal and 2 Army Commendation Medals, and it's because I respected the people I worked for, my superiors, and the people I worked with. I feel like I did learn how to grow up, and I feel like my mission was complete in the military, serving the purpose of helping me. Because again, as I got out, I went back to college, and I was much better in college then.
So you learned valuable life lessons.
Yes, valuable life lessons, and again, the fact that if somebody tells you to do something, you've got to do it. You can't just blow it off like I did. I was spoiled growing up, and I didn't do what I was told to do, so I had to learn how to do that.
So how has your military experience impacted your feelings about war and in the military in general?
You know, I'm disappointed that it wasn't a war, it was a conflict, they called it, and we really weren't trying to win it. That was what I was disappointed in our country for, or our leaders for, was we were just, I guess, sent there to make noise, because we didn't intend on winning anything, and as far as I'm concerned, we could have. And many times we could have, and we, you know, I think there was other countries involved with our country that didn't want to happen. I'm not sure, I'm not that smart, nor was I that involved to understand why we didn't want to, but we sure spent a lot of valuable lives and a lot of valuable effort to not finish it.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear your interview?
You never know how important it is or how good you would feel to represent your country and serve your country honorably and be a patriot of this country. The flag stands for more than just a flag. It is our country, it is our people, and it should be all of us.
Is there anything that we haven't yet discussed that you would like to add to this interview? You can think for just a second about just some aspect of it that you feel you might want to add.
Again, I just feel like every American, every boy, every young person should be required to serve their country in one way or another for at least 2 years. Right now, we need a draft. We need people that are protesting, people that are burning down buildings, people that are causing damage and basically killing. You know, something's wrong with our country that these people are doing this and they don't understand what America's about. And again, I can't watch people taking a knee to our flag during our national anthem. I have just turned away from that, and I can't respect it. I can't honor it. There's other ways of protesting without protesting our country and the people that fought for it. And I am totally opposed to that, and I cannot agree with any of the way they're doing it. There's ways of doing it, again, but that's not the way to do it.
Well, Specialist Daenzer, we appreciate your taking this opportunity to give the interview and tell your story. And we want to thank you for your service to our country. And we appreciate your thoughts for the future generation.
Well, thank you for your opportunity to do this. And again, I'm proud I served my country. And I would do it again.
Well, we're proud of you
Thank
and
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.